So if you're a recent grad and you're struggling to find a job, listen up. It is not just you. 20 years ago, the path was pretty straightforward. You get a degree, you walk into a good job for life. But today, that whole path has basically crumbled, leaving a whole generation facing a full-blown employment crisis. So what's really going on? And, maybe more importantly, why is this all happening right now?
Just let that sink in for a second. 647 applications. This is the reality for countless graduates out there, just like Caitlin. You're sending out hundreds of applications, you're getting rejected over and over, and you're starting to feel like you were lied to about what your education was worth. This isn't some one-off story. Nope, it's a huge, flashing red light signaling a much bigger problem.
And that bigger problem? Well, it can kind of be summed up in this one number, 5.3%. This is the unemployment rate for recent graduates. And get this, for the first time in history, it's significantly higher than the national average. That's never happened before. It's a historic shift, and it tells us something is fundamentally broken in the entry-level job market.
So what this all boils down to is pretty simple. The old playbook, it's been completely torn up. A degree used to be a golden ticket, right? But now, graduates are jumping into a market where the number of job listings is actually falling, while the number of people applying for them is just going through the roof. You've got fewer jobs, way more people fighting for them. It's the definition of a perfect storm.
And look, if you're thinking, oh, this must just be a local problem, think again. This thing is global. Down in Australia, grad jobs are falling. In the UK, it's the toughest market they've seen since 2018. China's youth unemployment hits 17%. And in the US, well, we just saw that recent grads are struggling more than anyone else. The story is the same everywhere. So, what in the world is going on? What are the huge forces behind this shift?
All right, let's get into the first big driver, and it's a big one, a force we've all been hearing about but are now really starting to feel the effects of: artificial intelligence. We've heard all the hype, but now we're seeing its impact in the real world, especially on the exact kinds of jobs that graduates were trained to do.
We've been worried about technology stealing jobs forever, right? Think about the car replacing the horse and buggy. Sure, it got rid of some jobs, but it also created thousands of new ones, making cars, selling them, fixing them. But AI is a whole different beast. This is the first tool we've ever invented that can do general cognitive work. The thinking, the writing, the analyzing, the very things that make up white-collar, entry-level jobs.
And if you want to see what that disruption looks like for a real person, just look at Andrew Cole, a writer. He's had not one, not two, but three of his skill sets become way less valuable because of AI, one right after the other. It's like being in this relentless race where the finish line just keeps moving, and the skills you work so hard to build can become obsolete almost overnight.
So, what does this actually mean for you, when you're choosing a career path? Well, the line in the sand is getting clearer and clearer. On one side, you have jobs where you're physically doing something, a plumber, a real track layer. For now, those are pretty safe from AI. But on the other side, jobs that are all about cognitive or creative skills, writing, sales, translating, those are sitting right in the line of fire.
Okay, but let's be fair and play devil's advocate for a second. Is it possible we're all just caught up in an AI hype bubble? Kind of like the dot-com boom in the late 90s? The truly massive, revolutionary impact might still be a few years down the road. And if that's true, it gives us a little bit of a window to adapt before the next, even more powerful wave of AI hits.
But here's the thing. AI isn't the only villain in the story. The second massive driver is something a little more old school, a shaky, nervous global economy. And when companies get worried, the first thing they do is stop bringing in new talent.
And that's exactly what's happening. With all this uncertainty around trade and the economy, companies have slammed on the brakes. They're not necessarily firing tons of people, but they are absolutely not hiring. It's a hiring freeze. And guess which jobs are the first to get put on ice? Yep, entry-level roles.
This hiring freeze has also created this really bizarre and incredibly frustrating thing called a ghost job. These are job ads for positions that a company has zero real intention of actually filling. If you've ever applied for a job and then just crickets, you might have been chasing a ghost.
So why on earth would a company post a job they're not even planning to fill? Well, the reasons are not great. Sometimes it's just to look like they're growing, for the investors. Other times it's to keep their current overworked employees happy by making them think help is on the way. Or they might just be collecting resumes for some future need that might never even happen. It's a huge waste of time for everyone looking for work.
And if all that wasn't enough, the whole system is getting clogged up. The career ladder is basically in gridlock. Look at these numbers. If you stay in your job, you're looking at about a 4.6% pay raise. But if you switch jobs, you get basically nothing, 0.2%. So why would anyone leave? They don't. And that means no openings for new grads at the bottom.
Okay, so things sound pretty bleak. I get it. The old path is toast. But, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because in the face of all this, Gen Z isn't just sitting around waiting for the old system to fix itself. No way. They are actively carving out completely new paths for themselves. And this number right here, this is a bombshell. Only 22%. That's how many US adults think a 4-year college degree is actually worth the insane cost anymore. That's a total collapse in confidence, and it's forcing a massive rethink about how an entire generation builds a career.
So what are people doing instead? Well, 3 major new paths are starting to emerge. First, instead of taking on a mountain of debt for a degree that might not pay off, a lot of young people are turning to the skilled trades. Second, they're becoming entrepreneurs. And third, the really savvy ones are actually leaning into AI, learning to master it so they can become indispensable.
And hey, if you think turning to the skilled trades is a step back, just listen to this. Geoffrey Hinton, he's literally called the godfather of AI. He says that in a world with super intelligence, one of the safest careers you can have is one that needs real hands-on skill and judgment. His example? Being a plumber.
This new mindset has led to an absolute explosion in young people starting their own thing. Just look at this chart. The 18 to 24 age group, they are now the single fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the US and the biggest slice of the pie. Faced with a job market that's broken, they're just deciding to build their own.
So what's the bottom line here? It's pretty simple, really. The world of work we knew, even just 5 years ago, it's gone. The future is going to look completely different. Yeah, the old certainties are gone, but for people who are willing to adapt, to learn new things, and to think differently, there are some powerful new opportunities popping up. And that really leaves all of us with one big question to chew on. The ground is literally shifting under our feet. What it even means to have a job is being totally redefined. The challenge for everyone, not just recent grads, is whether we're ready and willing to change right along with it.